All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This was really put together by both the Cultural Diversity Club as well as Changemaker at ASC West. This is our Peace, Justice, and Diversity discussion. We appreciate each of you joining us. We're going to go ahead and go roundtable with the four of us over here and just introduce ourselves. So without further ado, Cultural Diversity Club can start it off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rania Jundi, and I'm the president of the Cultural Diversity Club.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mohammed Madam. I'm the secretary in the Cultural Diversity Club. My major is civil engineer, junior year.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ivan Dowd. I am the coordinator within the Office of Student Engagement that oversees Changemaker at the West Campus.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Guerra, and I am a change agent in the West Campus.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and move on along.
All right, so our event is about justice and peace, and this is just an introduction, no justice, no peace. These are a couple quotes that we put together. Peace and justice, what a great combination to have all around the world. And here are some quotes that will give an idea of this great combination. If you want peace, work for justice. I'm just gonna read the quotes. Peace and justice are two sides of the same coin. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Without justice and love, peace will always be a great illusion. And a soul of hospitality and a heart of humanity is a house of love, peace, freedom, liberty, and justice.
So the movement for racial justice in the United States. So here on the left side, we have a timeline of 1860 to present day. So on December 18, 1865, the 13th Amendment ends slavery in the United States. In May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court rules to end segregation in public schools and Brown versus Board of Education. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks sparks the Montgomery bus boycott when refusing to give up her seat. Following that, on August 28, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gives his famous I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. The year after that, on July 2nd, President Johnson signs the Civil Rights Act. The year after that, on August 6th, President Johnson signs the Voting Rights Act. On November 22, 2014, Tamir Rice, 12-year-old boy, is killed by the police officer while playing with a toy gun. And in recent times, on May 25, 2020, George Floyd's death sparks outrage over police brutality.
So this was kind of just an overview of some of the racial injustices and injustices in general that occurred in the United States. We're going to kind of go through a few different other areas throughout the world and kind of discuss their specific injustices as well. So our next one is actually something that's very current and something that is in the news a lot of times these days. So the ongoing struggle for freedom and democracy in Hong Kong. So extradition deal between Hong Kong government and mainland China reduced protests over mainland influence. The leaderless protesters riot in Hong Kong over mainland Chinese assimilation, and many are rioting to preserve their democracy and independence. So as you can see on the left side, this kind of shows some of the struggle between the rioters as well as the police as they're kind of trying to find middle ground. Younger members of the population flooded the streets throughout 2019, and they were clashing with government-sponsored riot police. So there are actually thousands that ended up passing away or were severely injured from the incident, just due to the fact that the government and the people kind of had different thoughts about how mainland China should be moving forward. The mantra "Be Water" is adopted to represent the need for protesters to be flexible in their movement. This next piece highlights the social movements in South and Latin America. So back in the 1820s, Brazil had fought and declared its independence from Portugal. About 200 years later, they ended up struggling with race equality among European-descended native Brazilians and Africans in the country. So Brazil was one of these countries where they had many different individuals from all around the world living in that area. And then they were trying to decide, okay, well, who is it that really gets control over the land? So that's kind of that constant struggle. Recent events in Brazil have sparked widespread Black Lives Matter protests. So 6 times as many people are killed by Brazilian police than citizens killed by police in the United States, believe it or not. Recent videos showing police brutality have sparked race riots from Sao Paulo to Rio de Janeiro. So again, we kind of go back to these thought processes that are occurring in the United States. We talked about George Floyd and all these different things that came to light recently. 6 times as many killings occurred in Brazil within this last year. So that's just something that kind of opens your eyes a bit to the situation. Brazil was the last South American country to abolish slavery and has since struggled with a campaign known as Black Consciousness. So Black Consciousness is the country's push to bring awareness to racial injustice present in today's society. So you think about, kind of the history with the United States and slavery. Brazil was the very, very last South American country to abolish it. So that kind of shows the power struggle and how every individual had very, very different points of views, and they were trying to come to a middle ground. In the final years of World War I, workers, students, and women's movements fought for equal rights and participation in the national community. And the Comité de la Juventud was a powerful organization that believed that new generations should lead social reforms for solidarity assistance regardless of economic barriers. So what that committee was basically trying to do is say, okay, each and every generation or so, every few decades, we're seeing all these different shifts in beliefs. We're seeing a shift in leadership because new individuals kind of come in. As the young get older, they're the ones who are kind of taking over. So that's kind of what that committee was trying to do, is just to ensure that those social reforms made sense for that specific generation.
Hello, everybody. Right now, we move to the ancient revolution history. So this is the French Revolution, one of the most famous revolutions in Europe, in ancient Europe. The French Revolution had started in 1789. There was many reasons that led to this revolution, but the main 2 reasons that I found it really interesting was the high taxes and the skyrocketing of bread prices. One of the beginning movement of the revolution was the Great Fear, which is in France the La Grande Peur. It's a movement started against of the exploitation, looting, and burn the homes of the tax collectors, landlords, and the cynical elite. In the French Revolution, there was so many people had been died and killed. The official number that has been recorded was 17,000, but the historians claim there was approximately 300,000 people have been killed in the prison without a fair trial, as we can say. And in November 9th, 1799, it was the end of the French Revolution and the beginning of the Napoleonic era. As you can guys see in the left picture, this is an event that happened on July 4th. It was a Persian revolution that seized the Bastille prison, an act of the protest against the King Louis of 16.
And before we continue, I just want to make sure real quick, if you all could just put in the chat, you all can hear us well and you all can see us well, correct? Just want to make sure. Perfect. Sounds good. We will continue then.
Right now, we will move to Africa. And we brought from Africa, Egypt. It was a modern revolution. It happened on June 25th of 2003. There was thousands of people that gathered in Cairo, in the capital city of Egypt, a protest against the abuse of power that has been happened in Egypt. In February, March, after the first revolution, so we can call it, it was a success, and they got a new president in Egypt. The new president had a widespread illiteracy blackout. He didn't know how to deal with the country as the young people of Egypt. They gathered again, calling for mercy, which was the new president. because of the blackout of the Confederacy, the high prices, the taxes, and they wanted and they asked for fair elections. So they elected the guy and the picture on the left, which is his name is Assisi. He's right now the president of Egypt, and Egyptian people are convinced that he's the one that's gonna take them to the peace and justice.
All right, so next we have this video. This video is the speech by John F. Kennedy in 1963. This speech was put together by him because at the time there was a lot of talk about war, potential war that was going to be occurring. And this was kind of after the U.S. had just gotten out of World War II within the last 20 years. There was a Spanish-American War. There were many different wars that they had just gotten out of. So they were, fearful. The people were fearful, thinking, okay, there's not going to be any peace. It's just going to be continuous war. So this was the speech that he gave. One thing to keep in mind, he continually uses the word man over and over. He says man this, and then man did this, or man did that. When he's referring to man, he's referring to mankind or humankind. Again, this was back in 1963, so that was kind of the slang that they utilized. But that's just something to keep in mind. If you all have any trouble with the audio, let us know as we share, but it should come through just fine. So here we go.
I have therefore chosen this time and place to discuss a topic on which ignorance too often abounds and the truth too rarely perceived, and that is the most important topic on earth, peace. I realize the pursuit of peace is not as dramatic as the pursuit of war, and frequently the words of the pursuers fall on deaf ears, but we have no more urgent task. But that is a dangerous, defeatist belief. It leads to the conclusion that war is inevitable, that mankind is doomed, that we are gripped by forces we cannot control. We need not accept that view. Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man, and man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again. World peace, like community peace, does not require that each man love his neighbor. It requires only that they live together in mutual tolerance, submitting their disputes to a just and peaceful settlement. Peace need not be impractical, and war need not be inevitable. By defining our goal more clearly, by making it seem more manageable and less remote, we can help all people to see it, to draw hope from it, and to move irresistibly towards it. Genuine peace must be the product of many nations, the sum of many acts. It must be dynamic, not static, changing to meet the challenge of each new generation. For peace is a process, a way of solving problems. So let us not be blind to our differences, but let us also direct attention to our common interests and the means by which those differences can be resolved. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. The United States, as the world knows, will never start a war. We do not want a war. We do not now expect a war. This generation of Americans has already had enough, more than enough, of war and hate and oppression. We shall be prepared if others wish it. We shall be alert to try to stop it. But we shall also do our part to build a world of peace where the weak are safe and the strong are just. We are not helpless before that task or hopeless of its success. confident, and unafraid, we must labor on, not towards a strategy of annihilation, but towards a strategy of peace. The kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children.
Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
All right. So that kind of wraps up that piece for John F. Kennedy's speech. As you saw at the tail end of it, or I should say as you heard, the voice kind of switched over. The reason for that was because back then they actually didn't record the full speech. It was actually mainly just the end point. So that part where he talked about not just peace in our time, but peace in all time. That was kind of the most important part of it. But later on, this guy, John M. Reeves, came back and kind of restated the whole thing, which is why you heard that transition in voices. So the first majority of it was him. And once you heard it go over to John F. Kennedy's voice, that's when he had stated that part. So as I said, this was kind of, a lot of Americans at the time were very fearful of going into war. And this was him addressing that concern and saying, we are focused on peace, we're not focused on war.
All right, guys. Now let's talk about how kindness relates to peace and justice. Kindness is an act of love and humanity. Being kind to people should be our mission in this life because it's part of being a human. However, people cannot be kind to each other if there isn't equality between them. Not having equality means that a group of people from the same race, religion, country, and etc. is better or less than another one. In this kind of scenario, people can never have justice and live in peace together. That's why to have peace and justice can be one of the biggest reasons to not have much kindness in our world. Some quotes: power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. Peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. In our world, there are 7 billion people that living on this planet. And these 7 people, there are black and white, rich and poor, good and bad. And that doesn't mean that we should be only kind to good people or certain color or certain type of people from certain country or certain class, because you never know what people go through. And just having a kind heart and just the kindness act brings a lot of love, brings a lot of care, and brings a lot of good deeds to this world and to you as well. Some other quotes that captured my interest were these: kindness is choosing love over hate, light over darkness, compassion over judgment. Kindness is a vehicle for peace. Kindness is the golden chain by which a society is bound together. Kindness is spreading sunshine into other people's lives regardless of the weather. More kindness, more love, more light, more peace. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. So regardless of whatever you go through or whatever the people around you go through, there always has to be kindness, because to be kind means to understand what other people are going through, what they have been through, and what happens to them. So it matters a lot. Be kind.
All right, so for this next section, we're planning on doing breakout rooms. But I think for this group, it would actually be better if you all actually just unmuted and answer the question as it kind of comes to mind. So Jonathan, do you want to ask the first one?
Yes. So our first question is, what are some global injustices that you are aware of, and how do these injustices speak to you?
So if anybody has a thought at all, take some time to think about it. But if you have anything that comes to mind right away, feel free to unmute. You can come onto video if you'd like as well, and just kind of speak through it with us, and that way we can all kind of have a discussion about it. We'll give everybody like 15 more seconds. While we kind of hold off and let you all continue to think through it, we can kind of share some examples that we have. One of the things that we recently, a date that recently passed was Patriots Day. So that took place on September 11th. So that date is specifically in commemoration of the events that occurred on September 11th, 2001. And on that date, as a lot of people know, there were multiple terrorist attacks. But something that a lot of people didn't know is that that actually affected people from over 50 different countries were actually affected from that, because the individuals who were victims or the individuals who took part in it or whatever it may be were from all around the world. It took place in New York City as well as Pennsylvania and some other areas as well. But the thought process behind it is that the injustice that came from it is that following those events, certain people weren't treated the same. About 800 to 900 cases of either assault or verbal assault or physical assault, whatever it may be, kind of occurred towards Middle Easterns actually following that, because a lot of people kind of generalized the fact, oh, these individuals who did this were from the Middle East, and therefore individuals from the Middle East tie into that, which isn't the case at all. That's what generalizing is. That's basically saying because one group of people who are from somewhere does something, all of the people from there do that, which is not the case at all. And that's something to kind of keep in mind of. That's one of the injustices that comes to my mind, because for me, my family is from the Middle East. We kind of faced that, especially as that date passed by. My parents kind of struggled with getting to know other individuals and having their neighbors be kind to them, because following that, they were called terrorists. They were called, all sorts of names just because of where they were from, even though they didn't agree with that at all. But people didn't really care to listen to what they had to say. They automatically made that assumption based off the fact that they were from the Middle East. So that's one of the examples that comes to my mind. So does anybody have another example that they can think of that they want to share? And you have one maybe, I'm sure. All right, we'll move on to the other question. So the other question says, what are some ways that we can utilize kindness to fight these injustices? What other strategies can we utilize?
Okay, anyone has an idea? Okay, so some ways that we can utilize kindness to fight this injustice. I kind of mentioned it, but when you're out in public or when you are around people, you should always watch about what you're saying, what your actions, your the way you're talking, just to not say something that will offend someone around you, because you never know. You never know the one that's standing by you, what they've been through, what they're going through, or even what their past is. So you might say something that will will affect them so much. So might as well just be kind and just watch whatever you're talking about, whatever the subject is, whether it's about justice, whether it's about peace, whether it's about a foreign country, just whatever you say, try to understand both sides, try to know the goods and the bads, because you, as I said, you never know what people around you go through, no matter how close you guys are, no matter how or a strong relationship you have with them, they're like each one of us, there is something inside them that we never want to share with the other one. So that's why we always want to be aware of what we say, aware of our actions, just to not affect them, because you never know. You might say something small and you're gonna say, oh, it's like I didn't even like, you're not even gonna think about what you said, but yet it's gonna affect the person in front of you and a lot. Other strategies we can utilize just by like trying to understand both sides all the time. Like for example, if there's a topic about some country that this country is this or that, yeah, listen to news, listen to all like what's going on, but at the same time, you might want to ask some people from the country or some people from the same group and just see their perspective and see what they think and what they say, because there are always two sides of the story, but only one right one. So I think you want to like listen to both and then sum it up and get to a summary.
Perfect.
Do you guys have any?
Anybody have any examples or thoughts about either of these questions?
I just want to add to that a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that is a really good point that you brought up, Rania. But also, like, I think sometimes the fact is that really sometimes people just don't agree with each other. They just see it from different perspectives in a certain conflict. And so basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's okay to disagree with someone, but as long as you're respectful to that, as long as it doesn't lead to like violence or injustice. So you can have a disagreement of opinion, whether it's about, you know, religion or whether it's about politics or any like other social issue. Just at the end of the day, that it should never get to a point where you're like oppressing the other person. So that's just something I just wanted to add.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Anything else?
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. So this next portion is the part that everybody's waiting for. We have the Kahoot. So we have a game that's kind of ready to go. If you all could, with your phones, your laptops, or whatever it may be, go to kahoot.it. What we're going to do is kind of test your knowledge a little bit on everything that we kind of put together, make it a little bit of a competitive game. Whomever the winner is, I actually have some prizes. I can collect your email following whomever wins, and I can get that over to you. So there's some competitive here. There's some prizes on the line, so you got to do your best. Go ahead and pull the Kahoot up. All right, 433-9139. Donna, thank you. Jay, perfect. So you just look up kahoot.it, this thing right at the top, join at www.kahoot.it. You would just put that in once you press play, that link right here, and you should just have to your name. 1 second. How's that? Can you all hear me now? Perfect. Okay, so if you just look up www.kahoot.it on the very, very top, you should be able to just hit play and then put this number in. You don't have to sign up or anything. Once you do that, it'll just ask you your name and you'll be good to go. And I'll go ahead and put this link in the chat to go straight to the Kahoot. And then I'll also copy and paste the game pen so that you all can just do it more quickly that way. There you go. We'll just give it another 30 seconds and then we'll go. Yeah, I'll put you can. We just will put ourselves in. Put you. So our folks over here are going to join as well, but we don't count as part of the prize pool. It'll go to one of you. Four, three, three, nine, one, three.
Watching getting stuff from.
All right, here we go. First question. Who signed the Civil Rights Act on July 2nd, 1964? Oh, 3 and 3. Let's see. Ooh, okay, Jade's in the lead. All right, next question. Who stated peace cannot be kept by force? It can only be achieved by understanding. Oh, only one person got it. You got it. All right, next question. What year did Brazil fight for their independence? That's a tough one. 5 seconds. Put something.
Just give me the go. Hey, chill out, Tommy.
3 and 3. Okay, so we made it tough. That's good.
No.
Mo doesn't count because Mo's right here, but Sarah's on top so far.
Hey, but I'm not cheating, though.
You're not cheating. That's true. On July 14, 1789, whose prison was seized as an act of protest?
No, I'm not.
Say that. That's for the answer. 5 seconds. Just pick somebody. Take a guess. Oh,
come on,
only one
boys.
person.
I'm the only one who got it right.
Doesn't count. He knew the answer.
Again?
All right. Who stated that darkness cannot drive out darkness? Only light can do that.
Funny, you don't know that you're the one who did this.
3 seconds. Pick someone. Okay, majority got it. Martin Luther King. Ooh, T. Who's T?
Someone.
I think
Oh,
it's Tom.
okay. Next question. What South American country was the last one to abolish slavery? I give you this one.
I mean, to give a hint.
No. It's
Give me
okay.
the hint.
No,
There.
you don't?
No.
Guys, Neymar play in this country. Oh, everybody got it.
Oh,
Look.
okay, I got
You're
it.
thinking-
Almost everyone got it. Almost everybody. Oh,
Oh,
Kiana.
yeah.
Okay. Question 7. What year was Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech? Oh, 5 seconds. Ooh, okay. Pretty split across the board. And Jade on top. All right, this is the last one. It's all coming down to the wire. What does President marks during his peace speech?
I don't know.
Five seconds. Take a guess. Almost everybody, okay. So at the podium, so you got third. Jade got second.
John. We know who it is.
Oh my God. Well, Mo doesn't count because he's right over here. So Jade, we will reach out to you. If you could just put your email in the chat, we'll get over the prizes to you. We'll go back to our presentation. But that basically concludes our, thank you, Jade, for getting that over to me. That concludes our presentation. We're just going to talk about our specific clubs / departments, and then we will be done. So Cultural Diversity Club, take it away.
All right. So about Cultural Diversity Club. Cultural Diversity Club was founded in September of 2019. The purpose of this club is to raise the awareness of the diversity in our community. One of our favorite things to do is helping out people. Another favorite thing is making culture events that are engaging for the outside community and ASU community. CDC loves volunteering and helping those who need help.
Okay, for the meetings, we basically meet every event, every time we decide we're gonna have an event, we're gonna make a meeting for all the members and the officers. And most of the time, the meeting is gonna be held on a Friday afternoon. We are going to try, since we are in a time of uncertainty, to have an event every month, as much as we could. The goal for CDC is always to be there and become bigger step by step. Join us and have some fun and do some good things.
So I'm going to go ahead and have Rania put in her email into the chat. Do you want to do that here?
Oh, do you want to do it?
Sure. And we're going to put it into here, and then that way, if you all are interested, feel free to reach out to her.
Or
So I went ahead and put her email in there. If you all would like to, feel free to write that down or type it into your phone, whatever it may be. And feel free to reach out to her with any questions or if you would like to get involved in the Cultural Diversity Club. And then for Changemaker, so Changemaker Central at ASU, we are a community of like-minded students striving to positively affect our local and global community. Our mission is to develop and nurture students by providing the resources and opportunities to inspire, catalyze, and sustain student-driven social change. So we do so through our 4 pillars. So service, so basically volunteerism. We connect students to volunteer opportunities. We host volunteer opportunities ourselves, and you can actually get service hours that way. We also host events themed around sustainability and give out sustainable, prizes or whatever it may be, water bottles, hydro flasks, whatever. Civic engagement is another one. Right now we are in an election year, as you all know. So a big push that we're kind of doing right now is just to discuss voter registration, voter education, and to host some educational events such as this one in collaboration with Cultural Diversity Club. And then finally, entrepreneurship and innovation. That kind of relates to if you had an idea about any entrepreneurial piece that you wanted to put together. We help get you connected to the right areas, and we actually offer grants as well. And we will put our email in the chat as well. And if any of you are interested in reaching out to us with any specific questions, or if you just want to get connected to any of those 4 pillars, feel free to do so. There it is, West Change Agents with an S at the end at gmail.com.
So here we have Changemaker location and hours in the West Campus. So Changemaker Central is located in Devil's Den, east of the Pod Market and Jamba Juice. And we are open from Monday to Friday from.
Another thing about Changemaker, if you didn't know, it's actually offered on all 4 locations. So if you were in Tempe, it doesn't mean you don't have access to it, or Poly, or wherever. They're also at those specific locations as well. And you can reach out to us and we can give you that info.